Hello, I'm Corinne Worsley, and welcome to this episode of the Live on Purpose show. And this week I am going to be talking to you about how your beliefs shape your reality. Now, this is a really juicy topic. It is something that if we want to create a life of meaning and purpose, that we really need to get to grips with, because our beliefs are ultimately the cornerstones of our lives. They are the things that are shaping our reality on a day-to-day basis, believe it or not. So today what I'm going to share with you are a few things about beliefs. So I'm going to share what they are, why they're so powerful, and then I'm also going to look at how do you figure out what your beliefs actually are, and then how do you change them if you feel like those beliefs are not supporting you in living or creating the life that you actually want to live. So, what is a belief? So there's a few different ways of thinking about beliefs. One of them is that a belief is just a thought that you keep on thinking, which is, it's an explanation that I really love because it really simplifies it. It really is that simple. A belief is a thought that you just keep on thinking. And then another thing to consider when we're looking at beliefs is that they are not facts. So what this means is they are not 100% true all of the time. So again, this is a really good test to use when you're looking at your beliefs and what's a belief in your life and what's actually a fact, because the thing with beliefs is that they often seem like facts. To us, they feel so true. They feel like truths, not beliefs. In fact, there's another way possibly of describing them. You know, how are your truths shaping your life? But if they're not true for everybody all of the time, then likelihood is they're actually a belief and not a bona fide fact, a 100% truth. So, thoughts that you keep on thinking and things that are not 100% true all of the time. So, bear those things in mind as we go through this, and as you then go on after the episode to start looking at your beliefs and whether you want to change them or not. So, why do they matter? Why are they so powerful in our lives? Well, ultimately, our beliefs shape how we experience reality. They are the things that cause us to experience reality, experience our lives in the way that we do, which again might be a bit of a new concept for you, in that we might be looking at, well, no, it's because of these people outside of me that I'm feeling this way, or it's because this event happened this way that I'm feeling this way. But actually, it's our beliefs which then influence our perception that are causing us to experience life in the way that we're experiencing it. And the reason for this is that we have something in the brain called the reticular activating system. And this part of the brain is always looking for evidence to support our beliefs. And if you think about it, when we experience the world, we look out onto the world and we hear things, our brain is processing information all the time, but it can't possibly process every single piece of information that is out there. And so it has to filter somehow, some way. And the way that it does that, and one of the ways that it's able to do that, is through the reticular activating system, which is this part of the brain that is looking to confirm our beliefs. It's looking for evidence to support our beliefs. So, one way that you might have experienced this is when, for instance, an example that's used all the time is, say you're looking at buying a new car, and you're looking at buying a red Ford Fiesta or whatever it is that you're planning on buying, or maybe it's an orange Lamborghini, you will start to notice more and more of that type of car around and in the world. And it's not that all of a sudden there's been a massive upsurge in sales and there's more of that car on the road. It's because your reticular activating system is primed to seek out that piece of information, to notice it. You know, I used to drive Alfa Romeos and dated a guy who owned an Alfa Romeo garage, and for a long time after we split up, I would just see Alfa Romeos everywhere, whereas now they just don't register quite as much as they used to, because I don't drive one anymore and I'm not associated with that brand of car. I don't have feelings or beliefs connected to that particular brand of car, so I don't see it. And we can do experiments to play with this as well, and to start really seeing this and experiencing it in your own life. So it could be a certain model and colour of car that you start to look for. Or there's a couple of books by a lady called Pam Grout. One of them is called E Squared. And in that book, she asks you to do experiments. So one of the experiments I did once upon a time was to look for yellow butterflies. And this was at a time when I was in Basel in Switzerland. So I was in a city. So I wasn't out in the countryside. And I really did think, okay, I've decided I'm going to look for yellow butterflies here, but I'm not holding out much hope, because where on earth am I going to see yellow butterflies when I'm in a city? But lo and behold, as I went about my daily business, I kept seeing yellow butterflies. Perhaps not in the form that I thought I would see them in, but they were there. They would be in a shop window, or in the back of somebody's car, or in other ways than an actual physical yellow butterfly. But I did start seeing and registering these yellow butterflies. And it's not that they weren't already there. It's that they were there, but now I was starting to notice them. And this is where our beliefs, and why our beliefs are so powerful, is because they cause us to filter our world. They cause us to see only things that align with our beliefs, and that then influences how we experience our lives. So hopefully those examples have given you an idea of just how powerful beliefs are, and they were light-hearted examples, but obviously in our lives we have much more deeply held beliefs that really do influence really important things in our lives, like our financial reality, our romantic relationships, our career, our business. And this is why I wanted to talk to you about this subject today, because it's so key in enabling you to live the life that you really want to live. So then, where do these beliefs come from? They don't just magically appear out of thin air. So let's talk about where they actually come from. Well, they come from what we have observed and what we have learned as children, mostly. A lot of scientists, teachers will say that we live 95% of the time based on our subconscious, which really most of what's going on in there was locked down by the time we were 7 years old, which is a little bit scary. So we might think that we're acting from a conscious place all the time, but actually our subconscious is very, very much in the driver's seat of our lives. And those subconscious behaviors and beliefs are acquired during our childhood. So they come from observing the people around us and the world around us, and observing what they believed, listening to what they tell us, observing their behaviors, and forming beliefs based on interpretations of those events of what we see from other people. So this is the thing, a belief is not a 100% truth, as we mentioned at the beginning. So a belief is an interpretation that our brain has made and that has turned into a belief that we live our lives by. And these beliefs can be empowering or disempowering. Often you will hear coaches talk about limiting beliefs, but not all beliefs are bad. Some beliefs really, really support us in our lives. Other beliefs don't support us in our lives. Another way that we form our beliefs is through our experiences. So when something happens to us, again, likelihood is that the more firmly held the belief is, the earlier it was created. So when we have an experience, something happens to us, then that belief gets locked down. And again, it's our interpretation of that experience though. So there could be a myriad ways that we could have interpreted what happened to us in our lives. And it really depends on our interpretation as to what the belief is that we end up registering. So maybe start to get curious about the beliefs that you have, and where they might have come from. So, for instance, in my own life, I have always found romantic relationships, one of the most difficult areas for me to figure out, to get to grips with, to make a success of, whatever success is. And when I worked it back with a hypnotherapist, I was able to identify a particular event that happened when I was about 7 or 8 years old that really had a huge impact on me and formed a belief that then I went on to gather more and more evidence for, a belief that ultimately was laid down as a means of protecting me. But once I got into adulthood, I no longer needed that protection, but it was still running the show. And this is the thing about beliefs as well. Most of them are formed with really, really good intentions, with intentions of keeping us safe, of protecting us from not experiencing that thing again, or from experiencing something good. They're formed with really, really good intentions. But the thing is, what we needed to protect us and to keep us safe when we were children, we don't necessarily need when we're adults. And this is where our beliefs can sometimes start to wreak havoc in our lives, and we can end up looking at our lives and thinking, hang on a minute, this is not the life that I really want to be living, but what's going on? And I am not quite sure how I got here or why I got here and how on earth I can go about changing this, because again, our beliefs feel so true for us that we believe that the reality we're living is the only available reality, that it somehow intrinsically is our destiny to live that reality, whereas it's actually, the truth is, the true truth is that we're creating our lives in every moment. And if we decide that we want to create something different, if we believe that we can create something different, then we will. Now, Wayne Dyer famously flipped one of these common phrases that we use on its head, and I think it's a really, really good thing to remember when looking at beliefs. And that phrase is, so often we hear people say, I'll believe it when I see it. About anything in life, I'll believe that when I see it. Whereas actually what Wayne Dyer does is flips that on its head and says you will see it when you believe it. And it's a really subtle shift, but actually it's the truth, as in when we believe something, that is what we are going to experience in our lives. And another example of this is if we think about the placebo effect. So if you know anything about the placebo effect, it's it's often talked about in terms of kind of medical clinical trials where one group of people is given a certain pill that actually does have some scientific backing behind it. Another is given just a sugar pill, and actually the people who believe that they've been given something that is going to heal them, make them feel better, actually feel better simply because they believe it. And there's even a kind of study that was done where people were operated on to different degrees, people with issues, I think it was in their knees, and some people actually had the operation, some people just had an incision to make it look like they had the operation, and the ultimate outcome was that those people who hadn't actually had the operation experienced an improvement. They actually recovered, they were healed because they believed they had had the operation. That is how powerful these belief things are. And this is why I really want you to start considering them and getting to grips with them in your life. So how the hell do we go about doing that? How do we figure out what the hell our beliefs are? And then actually, how do we choose a belief that's empowering us, supporting us in creating the life that we want to live? So the best way to figure out what your beliefs are is to look at your life. So going back to an earlier episode, I talked about the wheel of life. What you can do is get that wheel of life out, or if you don't have a wheel of life, no matter, you can just take a look at every area of your life. So money, relationships, friendships, work, health, and take a look. Okay, well, how does my life look in this area right now? So maybe you're thriving when it comes to wealth. Maybe you've never had an issue earning money. You always feel abundant. Amazing, great. That is a sign that you've got some really, really healthy, supportive beliefs going on when it comes to wealth. If, on the other hand, you are experiencing something a little bit different when it comes to your wealth, maybe it's feast or famine, maybe you always just about have enough, then there has to be some belief sitting underneath in your subconscious that is keeping you in that particular position. A belief that there's just never quite enough. And this could have come from childhood, for instance. Maybe you grew up in a family where, making ends meet was difficult. Your parents weren't always able to make ends meet. Or maybe you always had just enough, but not quite enough to do the things you really wanted. Or maybe it was that you observed a parent or caregiver who was never satisfied with what they had. That can be equally as powerful. The reality, they may well have had plenty, but if they were never satisfied with what they had and you observed that, then you may well have a belief that is causing you to experience the same damn thing. Again, in relationships. I mean, this is a great one to look at your beliefs in. How are your relationships, in particular your romantic relationships? Are they thriving? Are you happy? Do you feel valued? Do you feel loved? Or not so much? Do you have a repeating pattern that keeps occurring when it comes to relationships, for instance? Now, again, repeating patterns are a really great clue in whatever area of life it is. If you find yourself saying, "This always happens to me," that is a clue that there is a belief going on somewhere that is causing you to experience that over and over again. And you can see this in relationships. So I always meet guys who are only after one thing. Do you have a belief that guys are only after you for one thing? Where's that come from? Where did that originate from? Is it true 100% of the time for everybody? No. Therefore, it's a belief. It is not a fact. So you get to choose again. but you have to become aware of the belief before you can choose another belief. So have a look, see if there's anything in there. It can occur in the smallest of ways as well. So I'll give you an example from my own life. My parents, when they come to stay, when they come and stay near where my sister and I live, they stay generally in Premier Inns, sometimes in other places. But no matter where they stay, there is always a problem with their room. Always. Like 100% of the time, or maybe 99% of the time. They'll arrive, they'll go to their hotel, they'll spend a night in the hotel, and then they'll come and see us the next day, and there'll be a whole story about how the extractor fan was too loud, or the light didn't quite work, or the lock on the door wasn't working, or the room smelled of smoke, or it was too noisy, and they had to go and ask to move rooms. No joke, no word of a lie. This is now a standing family joke. And the thing is that when you know what I know, I can look at it and say it's because that's what you're expecting. It's because what you believe is going to happen each and every time. And therefore that is what you experience. And it could be as much as the lens that they're looking through, their perception. They go in looking for something that's wrong instead of looking for something that's right. And whether you believe in law of attraction or not, I do believe in energetics and vibrations. Whether you believe in that or whether you believe in the more logical scientific approach, which talks about, actually it's what your belief is causing you to see things in a certain way, to pick up on various bits of information. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's just really, really important to get to grips with this idea, with this fact, with this truth, that your beliefs are causing you to experience reality in the way that you are experiencing reality. So, getting back to what I was talking about, I digressed, as I have a tendency to do. Take a look at your life. Have a look at how it's going in each area and have a look at, okay, what beliefs have I got going on that's causing this area to be a certain way? And this is not just about changing a belief and then magically everything is going to change. The reason that beliefs are so powerful is that our beliefs influence our thoughts, which influence our actions. So again, this is not about changing your beliefs, sitting on your meditation mat and saying hamana hamana for, a couple of minutes a day and your life is going to change. The reason we want to change our beliefs, or at least be aware of what our beliefs are, is so that our thoughts will then follow a different path and our actions will then follow a different path, and we will see different results and we will feel different feelings. Again, it's all about how we interpret what we're seeing out in the world. And I just can't reiterate enough how powerful a belief is in creating the thought that you think, interpreting what you see, and then causing you to act and feel and act in a certain way. So that's why we really want to get to grips with, okay, what's the belief that's underlying? What are the beliefs underlying in each area of my life? How do I think? And you might even need to work it backwards. Okay, so what actions am I taking? So let's talk about relationships. You might be saying, I really want a romantic relationship, but you're doing nothing. You're proactively doing nothing for that to actually be your reality. And you're even when you're out and about, you're doing things that are effectively sabotaging your chances. You're not making eye contact with people. You're not smiling at people. You're not engaging with people. Okay, that's interesting. So that's how I'm acting. So what are the thoughts that are leading me to act in that way? Okay, my thoughts are, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be humiliated, or I'm too shy. or it should just happen. If I have to get on an online dating website, then there must be something wrong with me. Interesting thoughts. What are the beliefs that are going on underneath those thoughts? The beliefs somewhere along the way are that this is dangerous and scary, and also that you need a romantic relationship in order to validate you. So you can see how there is a chain reaction that goes on. And it doesn't just apply to relationships or to money, it can apply to work and career as well. If you believe that the career or the business that you desire is possible for you, you are going to act in a completely different way. If you believe that there is an abundance of clients out there, then you're going to be looking for them. If you believe that there are no clients for you out there, speaking from a coach's perspective, then you're not really going to be open and looking for them. And energetically, you're not going to be a great match for them, because if you don't believe that the clients exist, then how on earth can you be a match for them? How can you even be visible for them? You're kind of shutting yourself down. Same goes with relationships. You're not going to be visible to the person who is the right match for you if your beliefs don't support you being visible. So take a look at your life, have a look at how you're behaving. So let's break this down. Have a look at the results that you're getting in each area of your life right now. What does each area look like? Have a look at the actions that you're taking. How are you behaving in each area of your life? And then take a look at what are the thoughts you're thinking in each area of your life. And then start to discern, start to think about, what might I be believing? What beliefs might I be holding that are causing this chain reaction? And then the next step is, how do we change these beliefs? If they're not supporting us and empowering us, if they are not contributing to us living the life we want to live, if they are not supporting us in living the purposeful, fulfilling, uplifting, joyful life that we desire, then we want to change them. And that could be a belief in itself. Do you believe that the life that you desire is possible for you? If not, then that is the place to start. That is the place to start. So some teachers will say, you absolutely have to get into the subconscious in order to change these beliefs. And the only way is through hypnotherapy. And I would absolutely agree that trying to logically and analytically think your way into a new belief, a new behavior, a new experience is probably not going to work. I have one particular friend who is logical to the extreme and kind of refuses to even go near the idea of meditation. He says meditation for me is I meditate when I'm in the car or when I'm walking, which it's relaxation. It's not meditation. And it's again trying to solve the problem from the same place that it was created from. And we have to somehow do something to get deeper into ourselves, into our subconscious, into our hearts, in order to change these beliefs. So the first step is recognizing the beliefs that you're holding and then choosing the belief that you would like to believe. Even if you're not quite there yet, what belief would empower you? What belief would ultimately lead to different thoughts and different feelings and different actions and different results in each area of your life? What are the beliefs that you would need to hold? So that's the first step. Identify what you want to believe. What you believe is going to support you and empower you in creating the life that you want to create. And then maybe you want to go and work with a hypnotherapist to change that belief, to get into the subconscious and really change it. Or maybe you just want to write out some goal cards, or we call them affirmations, of that belief and how it's going to manifest in your life. So always writing in the present tense. One of the affirmations that I have on my wall, just looking at it now, is I am responsible for my own life. I take action toward my goals and my own happiness every day. And even that shift, I am responsible for my own life, is pretty damn powerful. So you can create affirmations, goals that are aligned with the beliefs that you want to be thinking in each area. So for instance, the relationship that you want to have, write it out in present tense. I am in the most wonderful, loving relationship, and just go with it. Write it out, even if it doesn't feel realistic for you. And then my recommendation would be to meditate, to get quiet, to go within for 10 minutes each day. Do some belly breathing, some breathing into your belly, to shift, to make sure you're in a good place in your nervous system. And then repeat that goal to yourself. Repeat the affirmation to yourself. And I don't only want you to repeat it and to say it, I want you to feel it, because this is where the shift happens. This is where you will get into really experiencing the feeling that you want to feel. And that brings the experience that you're wanting to create closer to present day. It's not always easy. It really isn't always easy. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes if you're feeling a bit shitty, it's pretty damn hard to all of a sudden feel amazing, which is where we need to kind of go gradually, step by step. And maybe I'll talk about that in another video, the process of visualizing and feeling. But really get into what would it feel like to be in that relationship? What would it feel like to be abundant financially? What would it feel like to be able to pay off that credit card? What would it feel like when I was in that dream job? And get consistent with that. Start making that part of your daily practice, a non-negotiable, because your beliefs, the beliefs that you're living from now, they've been laid down over a long freaking time. You've created some nice neural pathways in your brain, and we've got to create some new ones. And that doesn't come from sitting on your mat or on the floor or wherever you sit to contemplate and meditate and saying a phrase, an offhand phrase, and then going, doesn't work, does it? Nothing's changed. Everything's still the same. Of course it hasn't, because your beliefs, your neural pathways, like I say, have been laid down over a long period of time. We've got to do some focused work to actually create new ones. And I'm not saying it has to take ages, but you do need to be consistent with this. And, maybe if you're not being consistent, there's a belief underlying that it's not possible. So you can see this is multi-layered. It's an onion. And it's just such a powerful area that we really need to get to grips with. So for changing them, my advice to you is, first of all, becoming aware of what they are. Secondly, choosing beliefs that are going to empower you. Again, I come back to one of my favorite quotes by Terry Cole, which is, if you're going to make up a story, at least make it an empowering one. So often we go down the disempowering route. And a belief, a story, same thing, really. So if you're going to hold a belief, at least make it an empowering one, right? Because, how does it serve us not having an empowering belief? We don't need to be kept safe and protected anymore. We're not children. We've got our lives to live, and we've only got one life to live. So if we want to make it the best that we can make it, then we have to get to grips with these pesky beliefs that are running the show and are causing us to not be able to live the life that we really want to live. So that is where I would suggest you start, with figuring out your beliefs, sitting down, writing some new empowering ones, some ones that are going to support you in moving towards the life that you really, really want to live, and then giving yourself time, making it a priority in your life to take time to sit and change your beliefs, to feel what it's going to be like when you're living the life that you want. And to just stay vigilant, as Professor Moody would say in Harry Potter, constant vigilance. If something is off in your life, use it as evidence, use it as information that, okay, I still haven't quite sorted that belief out. Okay, so I need to do a bit of work. Or even when things pop up in your life and they're not quite what you want, but you're tempted to go for them out of that feeling of scarcity or lack, this is an opportunity. Because again, a powerful way of changing the patterns that we see in our lives is by choosing something different. So saying, no, that's no longer what I want, actually. I am going to say no to that in the belief that there is something better out there, a better match out there for me. Because quite often as well, it's about what we're saying yes to in our lives that really matters. So we'll only say yes to things in our lives if we believe that there isn't something else better or different or more suited out there. We'll only say yes to that job that was it's about 50% match if we don't believe that the job that's 100% match is out there for us. And I may have told this story before, but when I started my previous career as a consultant, I was absolutely solid certain about what I wanted to do. No doubts. 100% I wanted to be a multinational SAP FICO consultant. I'd had so many recruiters telling me this is not possible, what you're being ridiculous. And I had also, a little while before then, laid down, I just said it. I just put it out there. I'm going to double my income. I didn't worry about how it was going to happen. I just said it with such conviction. And ultimately, I ended up getting the role, like the exact role that I wanted, as a consultant rather than a permanent employee. And in so doing, doubled my income. And yet I had all these people around me saying, you're crazy, because I was turning down permanent jobs. And, I didn't have a job to go to. And people were saying, you're crazy, what are you doing? But I just had that steadfast belief in myself, and I was willing to say no to the things that weren't right in order to make way for the things that were right for me. And I trusted that they existed. And so recognize that your beliefs are influencing what you're saying yes to in life and what you're accepting in life. And that, yes, sitting down, writing new beliefs, getting into the feeling of them is really important, but so is remembering those beliefs, remembering what you really, really want, and starting to act in alignment with that, even if that feels a bit difficult. Even if you're scared that, but what if there's nothing else out there? What if this is it? If it's not what you want, if you can feel that it's not what you want, then say no to it and make space for the thing that's really, really going to light you up, that is really what you want, and trust that it exists. Because the more you say yes to things that you don't want, the more you're reinforcing that belief and those patterns. So, I've gone on, as I usually do. I hope that there has been some value in that for you today. As always, if you have questions, if you need some help with this, then please do get in touch. I'm more than happy to answer a few questions via email. You can contact me on my email address, corin@corinworsley.com. You can go to my website, www.corinworsley.com, sign up for weekly updates, and you'll see all of my content posted on there as well. And you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn mostly. If you want to catch up with my posts that happen on a daily basis, and just give it a try. Get aware in each area of your life of how it's going. Take a look at your actions, take a look at your thoughts, and then get down to the nitty-gritty of, okay, what are the beliefs I'm believing that are causing my life to be this way? and then choose some empowering beliefs. Again, I'll leave you with that quote today. If you're going to make up a story, at least make it an empowering one. Thank you so much for listening or watching this episode of the Live on Purpose show, and I look forward to being back with you again for another episode very, very soon. Bye for now.